X? Oh, no, there's too many.
Rock and roll!
Oh, well, there's Classic FM, of course. That is relaxing. So it's got all the stations that we do. Don't ask me to name them all because I can't. I don't want to, and you can't make me. But it has all the podcasts that we do as well. And there's just a boatload of them. Just numerous, too numerous to even contemplate. My mind is boggling just thinking about it. It's called Global Player. Stick it up your phone and you can enjoy it at your leisure. And on there, or just an internet near you, you'll find Nick Abbott, The Whole Show, or just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott Podcasts, and it will become clear as though by magic. Let's have a call in. Wait a minute. Chelsea. Hello, Mark.
Oh, hello. I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you.
Yes.
This is neither Mark nor am I in Chelsea. This is Jacob Rees-Mogg.
I don't know anything.
I'm terribly annoyed that you're constantly having a go at me, and I needed to bring to your attention that such things as farming, fishing, road haulage, house building, medicines, and care homes, amongst many other things, are going to be flourishing. You simply need to wait until the latter half of this century.
Just wait another 50 years for the benefits of Brexit. OK, good effort there, Mark. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sounded like a listener with material to me.
Oh, no.
Sue says, if Boris causes nuclear war, it might get rid of COVID. Boris will have saved the world and destroyed it at the same time. I can sleep tonight, says Sue. Boris Johnson is going to cause nuclear war. John emails, 2 bob was 2 shillings, equal to 10 pence now. Yeah, that's the that was the bus fare on the Isle of Wight. I think actually 2 bob was what I was short of. I don't think the fare to get from anywhere to anywhere else on the Isle of Wight was 10 pence. I think that was the amount of which I was short. You need another 2 bob, he said. Morons. On the Isle of Wight, you're surrounded by morons. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. Stuart emails, I'm a pensioner and I live in the southwest of France. I have just received €100 to help me with a rise in inflation, and the electricity price has been capped at 4% increase.
What?
Yeah. That's right. The French government have told the French energy providers that they can only raise prices by 4%. Damn it! What's ours going up by? Exactly. It's almost as though it was not a very good idea to sell off our electricity, or our gas, or our water, for crying out loud. Water! What kind of a stupid country sells its water to foreign interests? Let's have Maida Vale. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, long time.
Is it? Been a long time, been a long lonely
It has been
time.
a lonely, long time.
Yeah.
But
So, how have you
on
been,
again.
whoever you are?
Pardon?
So, what's up, Catherine?
No, it just, as I was listening to you sort of 10, 15 minutes ago, it just occurred to me that, and I, that, albeit I didn't want Britain to leave the European Union, but since we have, and everything you've just said is excellent, an excellent analysis of the pitfalls of what we effectively we've got ourselves into.
Yeah.
But now that we're
out, let's pretend it's
Union,
now that we're out, let's pretend it's all great. Is that what you're going to say?
No, we could. Why don't we do a trade deal with the Russian Federation? I mean, why haven't we been pursuing that since Brexit? I mean,
The Russian
what is
Federation.
the problem with trade?
Why would we want to pursue a trade deal with the Russian Federation? What have they got that we need?
Timber.
Timber?
Yeah, they've got a wealth of resources.
Right.
And they have, need of Western
everything.
product.
Yeah, they need everything.
Would that not help to diffuse tensions? If we threw out, some kind of olive branch. Now, that doesn't mean that we accept or support,
branches. Don't we trade with Russia already?
Well, very probably.
Oh my God! You didn't do your research.
I've done trade with Russia.
Trade in goods and services, exports plus imports between the UK and Russia was £15.9 billion in the 4 quarters to the end of quarter 3, 2021.
Oh wow! Well,
does the UK import from Russia? Do we trade with Russia? What is the UK's biggest trade? What do we actually trade with them? I bet we sell them a lot of things that go boom. That's what we specialise in. We also specialise in hiding the ill-gotten gains of the international criminal super rich, and that we come in really useful for the Russians in that regard.
I don't doubt it, but I think it is going to be a bit catastrophic for for
catastrophic.
Europe. If there is if hostilities break out, and then you're going to have large swathes of Europe.
Swathes. That word never appears in a positive sentence. Swathes, always negative.
Well, a lot of
swathes.
Territory, losing, being without, gas and electric and all,
Right.
It's not going to really be very good for Europe, is it?
It's not going to be a happy place.
It certainly isn't.
No. We will be in want of HAPPY-ness. Terrible.
Well, I just think, that there must be...
Another way.
Yeah. And I do, my grandparents came from the Ukraine.
Right, so it's their fault.
My grandfather deserted the Tsar's army because he was ordered to fire on Jewish settlements.
Right. Well, this is like a history lesson now.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And my grandmother came...
If only you'd told me that this was going to end in a history lesson, I would have concluded this call some moments ago.
Yeah, so that my grandparents fled from Ukraine,
right?
From the pogroms.
Okay, well that's great, but I'm not really. I don't care. I know that this might sound unkind and selfish, but I just don't care. History lessons? Oh, please!
Boring.
I thought I left that behind at school.
Well, there must be a way of getting Putin to respect the autonomy of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And maybe
somebody needs to punch him in the face. Metaphorically speaking.
Of Cadbury's chocolate.
That's a good idea. Let's get some of those chocolate milk producing cows over there straight away. Okay, good idea, Catherine. Keep thinking because it's what you do best. As soon as you have another thought, I want you to call up another number straight away. Keith tweets, if everybody picked up one face mask littering the country, that's enough to repair the flimsy O2 roof at no cost. There's way too many masks all over the place. And you can't reuse them, and as far as I'm aware, you can't recycle them. Terrible. Mountains of the stuff. Do you know how much money we spent on a PPE that either was not used, couldn't be used, and will not be used? It's absolutely staggering. Like Smug had the nerve to tell us that this government was interested in saving us money. Going to cut out the waste. It's just really absolutely quite incredible how much money we have wasted on PPE. This government was told before, curiously. It is curious, actually. If you want a conspiracy theory, here's one for you. just months before COVID hit, a government body produced a report that said we did not have enough PPE in the event of a pandemic. This was months before anybody had ever heard of this COVID-19. And they said, we need to replenish our stocks immediately. And what did the government do? Absolutely nothing. Because, they know best. And when the invisible menace came among us, then they started freaking out and realised that despite the warnings from experts, they hadn't done anything about it, and now they were screwed. And by they, I mean we. And so the amount of money that they spent, very, very suspicious, because by an amazing coincidence, many billions of pounds just happened to end up in the pockets of friends and mates and donors to the Conservative Party. Isn't that incredible?
No.
No, isn't that a total surprise?
No.
Aren't you shocked?
No.
It's getting on for about... I do have detailed files here. I can go through it with you if you like. But it's getting on to about 20 billion. It's just a staggering amount of money. And that for Smug to actually say with a straight face that this government is interested in saving us money, us poor dopes who pay taxes, well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs. And I will too. You see if I don't. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. What did we win in the Olympics, by the way? I mean, somebody said that we had had a British win at the Olympics. You know, the cold Olympics that nobody watches because we don't really do any of those sports, and we don't ski, and we don't really like it when it's cold that much. We got a silver in curling. Right. That it? Is that it?
Yep.
That's it?
Yep.
That is the sum total of our medal haul?
Yep.
A silver in curling?
Yep.
Well, that's great.
Oh, fabulous.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You've got a good, your mind is a little bit, you know what I mean, three-dimensional.
I have no idea what you mean, hippie. Keith tweets, oh no, I read that. If everybody picked up a face mask littering the country, that's enough to repair the flimsy O2 roof at no cost. Plus, we wouldn't have so many face masks littering the country. Paul says, Delicatessen is amazing. Watch it. Are you threatening me now? Watch it. Let's have Darlington. Hello, Darren.
Hello?
Darren.
Can you hear me?
No.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi there. Mick.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hi. First of all, hi. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello?
Okay. Every fibre of my being is telling me to slam the phone down now, but I'll just go ahead and I'll play the game. Yes, Darren, what would you like to say?
First of all, like to say I love listening to my favourite presenter.
Who is?
But he's not on tonight.
Right.
Anyway.
These are the jokes, folks. This is a selection of unfunny jokes told by somebody who is not amusing. Go ahead.
So you say we have no benefits from Brexit?
Correct.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
Go on.
We have sovereignty.
What does that mean?
Well, we've got our independence back.
But what does that mean?
We've got our laws back. We don't get dictated by the EU.
Oh, but we do, though.
But we don't know, do we, Mick?
But we do, though.
We don't know, do we?
But
Explain why.
Well, okay then. Sure, why not? We still trade with the European Union more than any other trading bloc. So, in order to trade with them, we have to match their standards to ours. Otherwise, they won't accept our goods. So we are now in a position of having to obey their rules without having a seat at the table when those rules are decided.
Yeah, but David Cameron tried to get us a deal, but he couldn't, could he?
I don't know, Darren. Is this a parody call? I find it very difficult to tell these days.
I tell you what, right? What about Labour, right? We had a choice between Jeremy Corbyn, Colonel Corbyn and the Communists, or Boris.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Boris seems like, he's a man with integrity.
Yeah, he's doing his best.
He's a respectable man. He's got a decent track record. Look, he was good mayor. And look, he's trying his best. He's done good through the pandemic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No one else could have done better.
Right. So either a definite parody or a man in need of help and assistance. I really don't know anymore. I mean, I've heard so many people calling with that kind of argument. And you did notice, by the way, that he skipped away from the benefits really quickly and started with the whataboutery. We've got our sovereignty back. It's utterly meaningless, as though we are commanding the world from this little corner that we've claimed for our own. Our sovereignty, like Britannia still rules the waves. There's no such thing as sovereignty anymore. You want to trade with somebody, you've got to negotiate the deals of doing that. And we are in a weak position now compared to practically every other place on Earth, because pretty much every other place on Earth is grouping together in gangs. That's what they're doing. It's not just the EU. There's gangs, there's trading gangs all over the world. The whole world is being carved up. And we are, by contrast, the little kid in the playground. We've just left a gang. And now any bully that roams the playground is seeing us as easy pickings. Sovereignty. I mean, that is the sort of amorphous argument. It's like a cloud of mist. The harder you look at it, the more it just disappears. There's nothing to it. There's nothing there. Sovereignty. What on earth does that mean? We make our own laws. I mean, he hung up quick enough that I couldn't actually ask him which laws he was glad to be rid of. I know what he'd say. All of them, he'd say. And he'd say all of them because he has no idea about which laws he would want rid of. And we haven't changed any laws. Everything's got worse. Every country in the world trades the most with their closest neighbour. It's just simple geography, baby. And we, alone on Earth, have decided to leave the biggest trading bloc near us. There's no other country that's stupid enough to have done that. It's just us. Only us. Every other country in the world is going in the opposite direction. Because that's where the money lies, honey. But we've backed off that. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why did the people who persuaded us to leave against our own interests walk down that road in the first place? What was in it for them? I mean, have you ever stopped and thought about that? I mean, they weren't poor. The people behind this ridiculous experiment that we have engaged on are billionaires. I mean, they've got no end of money. So what's in it for them? What's interesting to a billionaire? More money. Less taxes. It seems to be the only thing that they're actually interested in. The only thing that gets them up in the morning. More money, less taxes. And when they start going on about, well, we want a low regulation, low tax economy, then you should have warning bells ringing in your mind.
Warning, warning.
That only benefits the rich, the super rich. Low taxes. That means low government, low government spending. And who benefits from low government spending? Those that have the least. The super rich, they don't care about the diminution of the various bodies of the state because they don't rely on any of that. They don't rely on the NHS. They've got private health insurance. They don't even rely on the police much. I mean, they've got private security. They've got private everything. They've got private roads. They live behind walls. They got private bank accounts on private islands. Their interests are not aligned with ours. And yet, we've been persuaded to go down this route to benefit them, to benefit hedge funders and people of that ilk who made billions and billions of pounds from our economy tanking which it did immediately after the result of the referendum. No end of money they've made. All of us, we've got poorer. And they managed to persuade us to do it because of what that bloke just said. Some sort of mystical idea of sovereignty, like we were going to reclaim our place in the world and the map was going to turn pink. And the idea is so it's so ill-defined, but also it's so strongly felt that people even now still repeat it without knowing what it means. They just get this sort of gooey feeling inside. Oh, yeah, sovereignty, that's right, we're going to be number one again. We're never going to be number one again. We're a small, insignificant country off the coast of Europe that launders dodgy cash for a living. That is pretty much what we do. We have all of the businesses that facilitate the international criminal super rich laundering their cash here. We've got the estate agents, we've got the lawyers, we've got the accountants, and of course we've got the banks. It's like a cesspit of criminality over there. And what else do we do? Well, we've got a nice line in weapons of mass destruction. I'm finding it difficult to come up with anything else. We don't make anything anymore. Not really. The Conservative Party in their various guises have made absolutely sure of that. Tell me what else we do, other than cling to this notion that we can turn back time. Well, not even Cher can do that.
On your radio. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Yeah! Dude!
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
The whole world has, in fact, gone crazy. It's a fact. So is Rootin' Tootin' going to kick off this weekend, or is he going to wait to the end of the Olympics so as not to upset the Chinese? Probably. Vladimir Putin is putting on a show of military strength with huge new nuclear drills involving ballistic missiles, submarines, tank convoys and ship-based missiles. You know, basically anything that's longer than it is wide. Calling Dr. Freud. The Russian president and Belarusian strongman Alexander Lukashenko, often dubbed Europe's last dictator, were seen watching the saber-rattling drills from a situation room in the Kremlin. They're reviewing the situation. Can a fella be a villain all his life?
Yes.
It came as world leaders and Boris Johnson gathered at the Munich Security Conference in Germany. The Prime Minister showed up like he'd slept in a skip. Nothing will deter him from maintaining his trademark comedy style, so no one was remotely interested in anything he had to say. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told Western powers at the conference to stop their appeasement of Russia and warned that sanctions will not work on Moscow once the bombing starts, which earned him a standing ovation from world leaders. You know, much the same way that Bodger gave the nurses a standing ovation in place of actually giving them his support. No money for you, heroes. Here's a brief clap instead.
Oh, fabulous.
Don't spend it all in the same place. Zelensky said today Ukraine has received security guarantees for abandoning the world's third largest nuclear arsenal. We have no weapons and no security, he said. But we have a right to demand a shift from a policy of appeasement to one ensuring security and peace. He said, for 8 years, Ukraine has been a shield. For 8 years, Ukraine has been holding back one of the greatest armies in the world. Oh, well, steady on. No, you haven't. They just haven't been invading you for 8 years. Holding back. Fears of tensions boiling over were backed up by figures released yesterday by the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, which showed that there were more than 1,400 explosions in the rebel-held regions of Donetsk and Luhansk on Friday. Wow. That's a lot of explosions. The OSCE's Special Monitoring Mission that's deployed in the conflict zone said it had logged 553 explosions in Donetsk and a further 860 in neighbouring Luhansk, adding that it had confirmed one civilian casualty in a government-controlled area of Donetsk. This is those false flag operations that everybody's been saying that Putin is going to be engaging in. Give him an excuse to launch a all-out attack. It put the number of ceasefire violations on Friday at more than 1,500, compared with 870 the day before, suggesting an upwards trajectory of gunfire. Well, that's just maths. Upward trajectory. What else? Well, I mean, nothing's really kicked off yet, so this, it's journalists are at the ready, poised. I bet the Sun has put in an order for printing copies of the Union Jack for people to cut out and put in their windows as we support our boys who go over there, and, until it all stops, and then we'll start complaining about it like mad for years. Yeah, but while it's happening, we can't get enough of it. It'll be on the news 24 hours a day. People will be on the edge of their seats. The US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said on Saturday during a visit to Lithuania, wherever that is, that Russian troops dotted along Ukraine's border are uncoiling and poised to strike. He said that troops were moving into the right kinds of positions to be able to conduct an attack. And the Russians are continuing their false flag operations in eastern Ukraine, seemingly designed to provoke conflict. It's amazing that people have said that they're going to do it, and to surprise us, they're doing it. Thousands of Ukrainian refugees are starting to stream into Russia after Vlad's allies ordered a mass evacuation of two separatist republics as part of a suspected false flag operation to provide the pretext for an invasion. 700,000 civilians are being evacuated from Donetsk and Luhansk. Just after which, a car bomb rocked Donetsk in an alleged assassination attempt of a top Putin-allied official, with Western intelligence agencies believing it was faked as part of this false flag deception. This is the report in the Mail. I mean, that Putin isn't really a criminal mastermind, is he? I mean, he telegraphs what he's going to do. People say that he's going to do it. And then, to surprise us, he does that exact same thing. What a way to run a planet, eh?
Dreadful.
Awful. 0345 6060 973. Nigel emails, when I worked at the Royal Mail HQ in London in the mid-1980s, there was a typing pool, and the manager was called the Superintendent of Typists. Okay. That's good to know, Nigel. Thanks for that. Dimitri, Primrose Hill.
Yes, hi, Nick. Hello. I'm a first-time caller.
Good man.
Happy to listen to you. My question is to you. Joe Biden said that Mr. Putin is going to attack, definitely, right?
Yeah.
What if he's wrong? What if he's not going to attack? What if he's going to withdraw the troops back?
That would be great.
Yeah, it will be, but that means that Joe Biden's intelligence services are not really working well.
Well, that would mean that Joe Biden is not relying on magical intelligence services that know everything.
Yeah, but he said to the journalist that he's sure, 100%.
Yeah. Right. Well, why would you amass over 100,000 troops on the border of a country that you've been threatening if you weren't going to do anything with them? I mean, it certainly looks that way, don't it?
Yeah, but what they say, what Russians say, that it's a training, right?
Right.
That's what they said.
Sure.
Yeah, I know, so-called training, but they might go back. I mean, back where they came from, and that's it then. That means everyone was worrying about it and shaking about it.
Yeah, when we could have been worrying about something else instead. Yeah, you're quite right. What a waste of time, eh? All right, thanks a lot, Dimitri. There you are, a little positivity. If that is what that was. Tony tweets, bit serious, do you think that Putin is having a senior moment? He's just turned 70 years old. Maybe like Hitler. Uh-oh. The H name. He's just turned 70. Maybe like Hitler said in 1938, he wants to do something big before he gets too old. In Hitler's case, he asked his aide if he was running out of time to get the job done. Right. I very much doubt that Rootin' Tootin' thinks he's running out of time. Richard emails, what's the point of curling? Well, that's a good thought. What is the point of curling? Other than just to waste vast amounts of time. It's not a sport. It's a pastime. Not a sport, pastime. If you can play it at the highest level while also being fat, it's a pastime, not a sport. But it does waste, vast amounts of time if that's what you're in want of doing. Tavistock, hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. It's just really extraordinary because I've been sat here for some time. I'm not complaining, waiting to come on. Mm-hmm. And then that chap rang about sovereignty.
Yeah.
And, well, that's one of the things he said. But what I was going to say, you see, is I was going to say they used that word so fatuously when they were getting people to vote for Brexit. Mm. And I came across this book by the awful Rees-Mogg's father.
Oh, yeah.
Which was written, I didn't know whether I should ring in about this or not. I've been wondering for weeks. It was written some time ago, but apparently is a great favourite with those Brexiteers.
Right.
And it's called The Sovereign Individual. But of course, it's the individual that's going to be sovereign. I'm ignorant enough to not be able to work out exactly how, if it does, it actually connects with Brexit. But the point I want to say is that the descriptions were quite extraordinary of life as this elder Rees-Mogg was seeing it in the future. For the very rich, living independent of nation states, free of all tax, and in gated communities. And in this happy sentence with which he concluded a paragraph, the common people will be walled out.
That sounds
was there in black and white.
Yeah, well, that sounds like it should be on the front page of the Conservative Party manifesto. I mean, if they were actually telling us the truth, then they would put it on their pamphlet.
Yes, perfect. Yes. But, sovereign individual. And you're quite right. I mean, the way that word is being used is so vague.
It's meaningless. It's deliberately meaningless because they just want people to have in mind the best outcome that they can imagine, and so they can't say it will be the best thing that you can think of, and so they use words like sovereignty, and people have a sort of a gooey positive reaction to that word because they think, oh, that means things are going to go back to like how they were in a Bolting Brothers movie where everybody gets along fine and nary a dark face is seen and you can park wherever you like and there's cricket on the green and the beer's warm.
Yes, exactly. And also, I think people tended to grasp the idea, I think it was also meant to mean that this country will be sovereign unto itself. Well, you've sort of described that. But, like the walls are around us and we do exactly what we please and we do. But it's not we, it's not the common people who will do exactly what we like.
But
we're stuck with what you so eloquently described.
The only way that we could... Yes, but the only way that we could actually be sovereign is to not trade with anybody else, because anybody else that we trade with, any other country, is going to have their own rules and regulations that we have to meet. Otherwise, we won't be able to trade with them. So this idea that we can bestride the world and give the rest of the world orders as to what they can do. See, I think that's the sort of feeling that people get. Oh, yeah, we'll be back giving orders to these blooming foreigners. But it's the other way round, because every other country on earth is, if they're not already, but then they are busily trying to join a gang, because that's where the money is.
Mm. Yes, and also they hate the idea of cooperation, so many people who would vote Brexit. The idea that you cooperate with other people to get things done. Oh, no, as you say, we give the orders, we do what the hell we like.
Yeah.
But it's basically about the rich doing even more of what they like and raking all the nation's funds and wealth and institutions towards themselves to profit them.
Whenever you
like
hear...
a great big race.
Yes, whenever you hear a Conservative politician, because it will only be a Tory who will say these things, whenever they say, we want to reduce the state, we want to reduce taxes, then you should be... and we want to reduce regulations, then warning bells should be ringing in your mind. Because that's not for us, that's for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
All right.
And reduce the state means no welfare, basically.
Yeah, exactly right. To pull away the safety net that most people will need at some point in their lives, unless they had the foresight to be born to rich parents.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rose. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. By the way, one of the podcasts I do is called the Nick Abbot Habit, which are clips from old shows. Now, I'm doing clips from 2 years ago, and it was a really interesting period because Trump was still on the throne. COVID, we'd heard about it, but we hadn't actually experienced it yet. At the point that I'm taking clips from at the moment, you remember right at the beginning of it all, there was this cruise liner that I can't remember where it came back from. But the people on the cruise liner were put into quarantine, and they were all sent to Milton Keynes. If you can imagine that, they thought. But that was the extent of our experience of the invisible menace. And we hadn't actually left or had we? At the moment, I think we just left the European Union. The shows that I'm taking the clips from. But the idea is that I just take the funny bits, none of the arguments or anything like that. It's concentrated funny. It's a half an hour long. Comes out on Mondays. It's called the Nick Abbot Habit. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. The Nick Abbot Habit.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbot.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
They're simple demands, but they must be met. 0345 6060 973. Perry texts, in 1969, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and had perfect radio reception when he spoke to the people of planet Earth. 53 years later, and I can't talk to somebody 3 feet away. Not feet exactly, street. It didn't really make any difference. They could be 3 feet away and you're talking to each other on a mobile phone and you still wouldn't be able to hear them. So Perry says, if I was in denial about the moon landing, this would be the reason. How could technology have been better 53 years ago? Well, that's an excellent question, and it's probably answered by the fact that Neil Armstrong was not using a mobile phone. Mike says, don't you think that Steve Coogan looks like a young Donald Trump? It had not occurred to me. And thinking about it, I'd have to say no. And Simon says, Laurel and Hardy reflect our take on modern life. Ollie, exasperated and raging. Stan, confused and flailing. Well, that does sound like us in a nutshell. Exasperated, raging, confused and flailing. Let's have Wembley. Christoph.
Hello, Nick.
Christoph.
So, I have several points I want to make. So, first of all, I think sovereignty does have a meaning.
Go on.
This wasn't my original point. I'm not sure I can define it, but the problem is that I wonder whether the sovereignty that we're trying to help Ukraine protect is the same kind of sovereignty that we got back from the European Union when we left.
Well, I don't think we got anything back from the European Union as regards sovereignty.
Well, and to prove the point, we actually left the European Union with, as far as I know, not a single bullet being fired.
Right.
And I think that's what sovereignty is kind of about, isn't it? It's the ability to have your own independent foreign policy, defence policy, that kind of thing. And that's what sovereignty, I think, means to me.
Our own independent foreign policy, but to do what, though?
Oh, no, I'm not. Well, to decide who we're friends with, who we're allies with, and who we trade with.
We could do that with when we were in the European Union.
Yeah, apart from trade, I think.
Well, we could be in the European Union and decide not to trade with them. There's no rules that you have to send 50% of your stuff to the European Union.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I don't think the sovereignty argument was a valuable argument. I don't think it was a relevant argument for leaving the European Union.
I think it was an argument that they settled on because they knew it didn't mean anything, but that it could mean multiple things to multiple people. Sense that their lives weren't being fulfilled because it was somebody else's fault. Some external locus of control was holding them back. So I think that's what people were sold. That we were being held back by some external force, and we will free you from those shackles. Well, how's that working out for us?
No, something. I think I agree. It is something like that, and that's right. We joined the European Union voluntarily. We weren't invaded and occupied. So we didn't lose any sovereignty by joining it, and we didn't get any back when we left it.
Right.
Sure, we delegated some authority for making certain types of regulations and laws to a supranational body, which
we were a part of.
Which we were a part of, and
I mean, they didn't make any decisions when we weren't there. They didn't do it in secret.
But as a result, it probably did a slightly better job than our politicians are going to end up doing now.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, just look at the genius who organised the deal for leaving the European Union. That melted candle is writing columns now, trying to ingratiate himself with the great British public. Well, it's a no from me, David Frost.
Yes, that is funny. Can I just... There's... one more thing I want to say about Dimitri's comment about Russian troops training.
Yeah.
Well, Russia is the biggest country in the world. Literally, it is the biggest land area.
Yeah.
So so it's a bit of a coincidence if you want to train your army.
Very, very coincidental. Yeah.
We've only got Salisbury Plain, I think, sort of to do our military training. And I think there's one other thing I wanted to say, which. It really doesn't relate to anything else we've been talking about, which is I think that a square in Brussels was renamed Joe Cox Square.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
Right.
I said it wasn't relevant, but I just thought it's interesting.
I went to Brussels once, and it was very, very boring. It was like they were building it at that moment, and it was hideously ugly. It's probably changed beyond all recognition because I am talking about maybe 30 years ago now. But they did have one square, and it was not called the Golden Square, but that's how you could describe it. It was old buildings and with a tinge of gold about them, stunning. But it was the only nice thing in Brussels at that time.
There was one other point I wanted to make. Actually, it's probably equally boring, but I remember. The day after the referendum result, I mean, actually, most people who phoned in seemed to be saying things like, "Oh, I voted, but I didn't realise we would win."
Yes,
I voted, didn't realise win, or actually regretting voting.
Yeah, I can't recall the amount of calls that I had with that exact message. I voted out, but I didn't mean it.
However, what I did do is I tried to contact my MEP after on that day. I mean, I didn't want to contact her, but I wanted to see if I could contact him or her. I can't even remember who it was now.
Yeah.
And I did actually find that very few MEPs had UK-based contact details. They all seemed to have Brussels contact details, and you couldn't arrange a surgery with any of them. So I'm wondering whether that was a bit of an error on their part, that they became a bit too remote from the people whose interests they were supposed to be.
Well, I think that
looking after.
In many cases, the people that were single-issue obsessives are the ones that went out to vote for their MEPs. People, who were just fine with our position in Europe, they weren't that bothered who their MEP was.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons that we left, is because single-issue obsessives, the Brexiters, were absolutely guaranteed to go out and vote, whereas the rest of us, we weren't that bothered. If it was a nice day, we might, or we forgot about it and we weren't that bothered. But the people who were adamant, they were the ones that voted for MEPs, and of course the MEPs that they voted for weren't interested in Europe. They were just essentially going over there on a jolly and to try to stir things up a bit.
Surely not. Surely not.
So that's probably why you couldn't get in touch with them, is perhaps because they weren't interested in being got in touch with. Too busy filling out their expenses forms.
Well, okay. But I think to some extent that was a justified criticism of what was going on there.
Yeah, but remember, the entirety of the European Parliament, the number of people that they employ there is about the same number as Birmingham Council. So, people shouldn't get carried away with thinking that it's so incredibly wasteful, because if you want to look up wasteful in the dictionary, it's got a Union flag next to it with Boris Johnson's face. All right, thanks a lot, Christoph. 0345 6060 973. Seriously, the amount of money that we've thrown away just lately is just really quite staggering. How come people aren't in prison yet? Why aren't there multiple police investigations? Why not? Apart from they'd rather not look for fear of what they might find. Like the Russia report. Oh, we see no evidence of any interference from Russia in the EU referendum. Right, that's because they didn't look. And they didn't look because they didn't want to find any. If you're determined not to find any, you won't find any. Staggering amounts of waste. I mean, it's just quite unbelievable, the amount of money that has just disappeared. It's our money. If somebody stopped us in the street and nicked a tenner off us, we'd scream the place down. If somebody broke into our house and they stole 100 quid from the table in the hall, then we'd want the police to do something about it straight away. But we've lost untold billions and billions and billions. And people it's almost as though we shrug to say, oh, well, never mind. It's like if you owe the bank, I said this the other day, if you owe the bank £10, then it's your problem. If you owe the bank £10 billion, it's the bank's problem. 0345 6060 973. I mean, partly it's because people can't conceive of what a billion is. Shall I do the seconds thing again? Off the top of my head, 1,000,000 seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds is about 31 years. That's the difference. It's a big difference. And we've lost more billions than you could possibly imagine. Where's it gone? What do we get for it? Where did it go? Somebody's got it. Somebody's waking up laughing. 0345 6060 973. It's just past 12:30. The news headlines on LBC with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Andy texts, I am so surprised to hear that you have not watched Alan Partridge. I thought it had been right up your street. Steve Coogan is superb in whatever he does. Yeah, no, I haven't. I tend to shy away from British comedy because I've sort of come to think that they're not that funny in comparison with their American cousins. I don't dispute that it is amusing in every way, shape and form. I just haven't seen it yet for that very reason. I'd be more welcoming to like an American TV comedy than I would to British. But it's the same with drama. I'd be more likely to watch an American drama than a British one, because a British drama would just be about misery. Miserable, ugly people whining. Yeah, right from the beginning. Like our soap operas. Miserable, ugly people whining.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
For half an hour. Every bloomin' day. It's a no from me. Partly the reason that British comedy isn't funny, as I must have said 1,000 times before, is because usually a British comedy programme will be written by one person. Two at most. Whereas an American comedy program would be written by 10 people. And when they've squeezed all the funny out of those 10 people, then they get another 10 people, which is how they manage to keep up the quality, while also putting out many, 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 many episodes. Whereas a British comedy is all out of laughs after about 6. They just collapse on the ground. But yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I've got this far in my life without watching it. I think I'll probably continue in that vein. Vince texts, has anyone ever worked out what bobsleighing is about? It's basically a Red Bull soapbox race, only on skates. And has anyone ever seen one in its feral environment? Also, what are the other people for? A 4-man bob is a single-person bob, but with passengers. I don't get it, says Vince. Maybe it's a cab. Maybe someone's booked an Uber from the top of the mountain. They want to get down as quickly as possible. Don't forget to leave a tip. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I rang up about Ukraine, but other stuff's come up since. What struck me was, do you remember in January 20, early February maybe, that you asked where Johnson and Cummings had gone, because they disappeared for weeks after that election, just before Christmas. They just completely disappeared. And I said, well, they're partying so hard, they're not visible during the day because they think coronavirus is going to get them off the Brexit hook.
Right.
And then after that, they blamed coronavirus for filtering all this money to all the mates. And then the last thing they did was they actually blamed the parties on that, if you think back, because he said, all our staff have been working so hard on COVID to deal with this problem, they had to let the hair down.
Yeah, having a party. Exactly.
What's he going to do when COVID's gone? He's going to struggle on that one. But
well, there'll always be Brexit to blame whatever ails us on. That will be the excuse forever.
And they said they were going to get rid of regulations. So what have they done? They've introduced regulations to make it harder for poorer people to vote if you don't have a driving license or a passport. And now they've regulated teachers. They can't teach this, they can't talk about that.
Yes, people should be very, very alarmed at what is happening under our very noses. It's coming to a head this week. Next week, the House of Lords is going to vote on legislation that could introduce mandatory IDs to vote in elections. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This is the Open Democracy website, which I commend to the House. This deeply regressive measure, they say, could disenfranchise 2 million people across the country simply because they do not possess photo ID. And guess which party those 2 million people are likely to vote for? That's right. Another party except the Conservatives, mostly Labour. They're trying to make it sure that, just as the Republicans are doing in America, it's also very, what would Donald Trump do? They're trying to ensure that they never leave power, ever.
It's naughty, but can I just nip back onto the phone?
Naughty.
Yeah.
Naughty. It's not nice, it's naughty.
Sleepy Joe forgot one word, and that was next.
Next.
Because he said that they might invade last Wednesday, right? But what he got wrong was it's next Wednesday. And the logic behind that is that at the moment, Russia and Belarus are holding military practice in Belarus. And there's film available of it from satellite and all sorts. They're charging about with tanks and helicopters and flying over with planes and bombing stuff and doing all the genuine military exercises.
Yeah.
That ends Sunday night. So 2 days to refuel, relocate, a little bit of rest, and all those forces will be ready for attacking Ukraine. So I reckon Wednesday.
Wednesday. Put it in your diary. It's a date.
Pincer movement, one from the north in Belarus, and then they'll go in where they're doing the false flag stuff at the minute.
Right.
But a bit grim, but I think he's got to do it because Putin needs And as you said, to avoid losing face and for domestic popularity, he's going to have to take some ground. Maybe not a lot. But, I mean, if you notice, all the really bright, informed people are now discussing whether he's going to, not whether he's going to go in, but whether he's going to go for Kiev or not. And there's a subtle change in how the experts are talking. It was, will he go in, won't he go in, blah, blah, blah. Now it's, will he go for Kiev? And they're all talking about, will he go for Kiev? And that's the discussion point. So they all think that it's going to happen, basically.
Yeah. It would be surprising to me if he just withdrew his troops and sat back down, because, like you said, it's too much loss of face. He depends on his sort of profile as a tough guy. I mean, if you've ever seen his calendars, those risible calendars that they make of him, he's got his shirt off on practically every month of the year. He's either wrestling with bears, or he's cuddling tigers, or he's fishing, or he's riding on horseback. He's doing, manly things with his shirt off. Put it away, Vlad. Nobody needs to see that. But that's his image, his tough guy. And tough guys don't turn around and walk away.
God help us if Johnson tries that like that.
Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. I think if God was going to help us, he'd have done something by now. There was that whole World War II thing. I'm sure it was in the papers. The news must have reached heaven. If God was going to help us, I think he would have done something by now. Graham texts, Boris went to a photo shoot the other day at an RAF base, and they love him so much they flew a plane down all the way from Scotland, especially for the pictures. I think that says a lot about how much he is loved, says Graham. Yeah, I talked about that yesterday. They flew a plane down from Scotland to put in the background just so he could have his photo taken, Bodge. And then they flew another plane, probably took out all of the equipment in the cockpit just so that he could squeeze his vast frame in there. And as soon as he had his photograph taken with his thumbs up in that cockpit, they flew that plane back to where it belonged as well. Vast amounts of money just to get a photo on the front page of the newspapers with his Imperial Bodge nurse. Still, it's not his money. What does he care? I bet Smug would be all over that, protecting the purse of the great British public. All about giving us value for money. God, it's just constant gaslighting from this lot, isn't it? It's amazing. 2 short years is what it's taken this regime to turn this country into this mess, into this catastrophe that we see before us. The blonde potato has done this in about 24 months.
Yeah. Wait.
Thanks a lot, Bodge. I do believe you've delighted us enough. Brian tweets, is it true that if you don't say anything for 10 seconds, the emergency Steve Allen tape will kick in? If so, shut up, says Brian. It's longer than 10 seconds, but it will kick in. What will Steve Allen be talking about on that tape? I think I've heard it maybe a couple of times because, I do remember a couple of times things got beyond our control and we couldn't do anything about it. And so it kicked in. I think he's talking about biscuits, something like that. I could love a couple of 3 biscuits right now, as a matter of fact. Southampton, hello, Simon.
Nick, hello.
Simon.
I had to call in. Did you have a guy on earlier on who was reciting the Brexit playbook? Everything from sovereignty to Boris Johnson is an upstanding...
Yeah, he's doing his best, yeah.
I don't understand how we can be this far along and people still be saying that.
There's so many of them, Simon. It's remarkable.
But, hang on a minute, I've got to put my tongue firmly in my cheek.
Here we go.
Because I've got 2 Brexit benefits for you.
Okay.
Right, so we shortly got to start testing all of our imports and exports coming in and out of the country, haven't we? So that's us testing plus the EU testing. Double testing.
Right.
Well, if you test enough, and you test in the right order, do you get extra points?
I do believe that an international statesman will confirm that is true.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points for getting it in order.
Brilliant, brilliant. And here's the best one of all, trade barriers. We need as many trade barriers as we can get, because the more barriers we've got, the more we can use them to push the immigrants back in their dinghies.
Well, that's good thinking there, Simon.
No problem. I'm here to help.
Right, this is you helping.
Cheers, Nick.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. We could build a wall. Walls always work.
If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Get to the other side of that wall. There's a man who knows about walls. He builds the best walls, believe him.
I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall. Okay, I'm building a wall.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. Dave texts, Brexit has been the best thing to happen. Capital H on happen. Immingham is thriving, is a free port. If we went back to having the EEC, I would be happy with that, and the EU is a corrupt, useless organisation. I knew what I was voting for. Knew spelt wrong. I am not a Tory, says Dave. No, Dave, you're an idiot. And I mean that in a helpful way. Walsall. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Nick.
Mick.
How are you?
What?
I said, how are you?
Oh, great, mate. Thanks for asking.
Oh, nice. Doesn't cost nothing to be polite.
What?
It doesn't cost nothing to be polite.
That's right.
Be polite.
Yes.
I was going to say, why don't one of the countries, America, England, someone, give Ukraine nuclear weapons?
Why don't we give... Excellent idea. Why don't we give Ukraine nuclear weapons and then just stand back and watch the fun begin?
It wouldn't happen. Nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen.
That's why the Russians took Russia, with America's help and a few others, signed a treaty, took Ukraine's nuclear weapons away.
Yes.
On terms that Ukraine would stay a sovereign country.
Independent
country.
To do what they want to do.
Obviously the Russians lied through their teeth.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to go into Ukraine if Ukraine had got nuclear weapons.
Right. Well, we can't complain about another country lying through its teeth because,
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, but like I said, if they'd got nuclear weapons in Ukraine, you think Russia would still attack them?
Sure they would.
I don't think they would.
Well, I do think they would. I mean, how many nuclear weapons are we talking about? Because Russia's got a boatload.
Well, you only need a few to take out a city.
No one's going to use nuclear weapons anyway. I mean,
no one's going to use them.
Yeah.
But it will also make Putin think twice.
I bet it wouldn't.
Because you never know that if someone's going to use them.
Of course it.
They're under Ukraine control. I mean, it's no good having American cruise missiles that are under American control, but you've got to put them under their control so the Russians know the Ukrainians can set them off if they want to. But they're going to, as long as Russia stays out their country.
Well, let's go the whole hog. We should give them to some unstable person in Ukraine, and then rootin' tootin' Putin wouldn't know what might happen next, so he'd be really concerned about invading.
Yeah, probably the same as if Trump had still been Prime Minister.
Well, yeah. If Donald Trump had still been the President of the United States of America, had been the world leader, then we would probably already be looking at the smoking ruin of the planet.
Don't be rude.
You know it's true, Donnie.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's. I mean, this country's not fit to fight the war.
No,
I mean,
well, our armed forces are diminished. We've got aircraft carriers with no aircraft on them. It's a small detail, but an important one. We've got ships that leak. What else?
All our armies are in Ukraine. In that area.
Your phone skills leave a lot to be desired, Mick. I think that you need to remember to speak directly into the phone.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
What I was going to get at is that Russia should invade this country because I got an army because they're all over the middle.
Russia should invade this country? What for? We already take care of all their money for them.
Because we got no one here to defend us.
Yeah, but why would they invade their own bank? They don't want to blow anything up here. They own everything here. They own everything here that the Qataris don't own. We don't own anything anymore. Sovereign my eye. Anyway, Mick, thanks for that. I think Mick was he'd either forgotten how to use his telephone or he was feeling tired and emotional.
Booze.
Perhaps. Well, it's that time of night. Tom tweets, we're going to France soon. A pet passport used to be £60 under the EU scheme. The new process for the same thing costs at least £200.
What?
Sunlit uplands, tweets Tom. There you are, you see. We have the ability to pay a lot more for what we used to enjoy for less. It's another Brexit bonus. Jeff texts, a good Tory film would be I'm All Right, Jack. I'm sure this was in some people's minds when voting for Mrs. T in the 1970s. Yeah, I remember I'm All Right, Jack. Andy emails, I think we should ban the Russians from Eurovision. Then they can't watch us get 0 points. Right. We're not still engaged in that mess, are we? I mean, how long do we have to put up with this humiliation? Everybody hates us. With good reason. 0 points. I mean, that's just embarrassing. That's not, they don't really like our entry this year. That's they hate us as people. If I ever leave this island again to go on holiday, you remember holidays? Wouldn't that be marvellous? You know, go somewhere warmer. I'm pretty convinced I'm not going to tell people I'm English. I think I'm going to tell people I'm Scottish, or Welsh, something like that, or New Zealand. Problem with being from New Zealand is, you know, you have to speak like that, so that's out. Dean emails, before leaving number 10, Boris combs with a balloon. He combs with a balloon. Is that true, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, world statesman. Addressing the combined world leaders who are all paying a lot of attention. This bloke looks like a scarecrow who slept in the street. You know, it might work to put people off the scent, to make people believe that you really are a kindly, lovable teddy bear. And that's been his act his whole life. Hiding his duplicity and, dare I say it, I don't know, is evil maybe a step too far? His nastiness, there you go. Hiding his nastiness behind a cloak of teddy bear-like cuddleability. He's not cuddly, and he's not a teddy bear, and he's not your pet. Stop calling him Boris. Linda says, government didn't listen to the people's worries about uncontrolled immigration for decades. Implications of the EU were not completely explained. Voters hit back in the only way they could. Yeah, by punching themselves in the face. That'll teach them. Somebody has said that the most recent Nick Abbott habit has not appeared on the internet. Damn it! Well, I sent it out. All I can do is edit it up, and then I have to rely on somebody else to put it up the World Wide Wide. And they did not do that, apparently. So this Monday, you'll get 2 episodes. Won't that be marvellous? 2 episodes of the Nick Abbott Habit on Monday. Otherwise, I shall want to know the reason why. I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock tonight. If you stick around, my expectation is that Ian Payne will be here at 4, but right now it's Clive Ball.
Nick, thank you. And coming up, as Boris Johnson addresses world leaders in this speech at Munich, warning the omens are grim. How much does the UK's relationship with Ukraine matter to you? Are you concerned about a war with Ukraine? How much impact will it have? We'll also talk about COVID rules, all set to be scrapped next week. And online safety. The UK government is planning tough new legislation to remove illegal and harmful content from the internet. But how realistic is that? And what can you do to protect yourself? You do to protect yourself. 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 You do